Welcome to Link G4x Training Part 36. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at working with our Alpha N style tuning strategy. Now in Alpha N, we'll be using our throttle position as the load input to our fuel table and sometimes into our main spark timing table. We'll find if we have a naturally aspirated engine with an extremely large camshaft, a huge single throttle body, or multiple throttle bodies in the case of individual throttle bodies, we'll find that we can't properly tune the fuel or the spark timing if we have map pressure as an input into our load input to our table. We'll find the map pressure is going to be moving around too much and we can't accurately track what the injector pulse width calculation needs to be from our table. So we'll have to integrate throttle position as our load input. I'm going to be showing you how to do that and how to work with a naturally aspirated and a turbo or supercharged engine that we might find that's going to integrate an Alpha N strategy. We have to go about things a little bit differently if it's turbo or supercharged. I'm going to go through all the details in our training tutorial, so let's jump in so we can check this out.
Okay, so let's get started. We're going to be taking a look at working with our Alpha N tuning strategy available in our PC Link software. Our Alpha N strategy is going to allow us to properly map out an engine fitted with individual throttle bodies, an extremely large set of camshafts, or an extreme size throttle body, where we're going to find if we have camshafts that are really large, we pull very little engine vacuum. Not having a good vacuum reading on our map sensor won't allow us much resolution within our fuel table to properly tune the engine. Now, if we're dealing with individual throttle bodies or an extremely large single throttle body, we can find we have an unlinear relationship between our throttle movement and our manifold pressure changing. So as we tip in our throttle, we may find that the manifold pressure, the map pressure reading, is going to go from vacuum all the way up to almost atmospheric pressure. That rapid change in the map sensor reading isn't going to be proper for fuel characterization or spark characterization in our main fuel and spark timing tables. So we're left with having to have an alternative way we can map out our fuel and spark timing, which is going to be done through throttle position rather than working with our map pressure, which is our traditional way we would map out fuel or ignition timing delivery for our engine. So what we're going to find here is that we have a few details that we need to cover in order to start to implement this and turn this Alpha N style strategy on. Now, I'm going to be going through the first portion of this video talking about a naturally aspirated engine, again, fitted with large camshafts, individual throttle bodies, or a single throttle body. It doesn't really matter. It's going to put us into the situation where we want to be in Alpha N style mapping. We would have then our fuel and spark timing tables set on throttle position as our load input rather than using map pressure. Now in this configuration, we would have to go in here to our equation load source. We would change our equation load source not on map pressure because we can't determine what that map pressure change is going to be. Part of the fuel calculations in working with our equation load source is if it's set on map here, if we double our vacuum, it should double the injector pulse width. Problem is going to be here if we have a rapid change in our map pressure, we're never going to be tracking that map pressure properly to deliver our fuel properly and having that simplified mathematical relationship. And that's where we have to have load equals barrel pressure come into play here. Barrel pressure is going to be much steadier. It's also going to be used in factoring in our elevation changes. So with an Alpha N strategy, we wouldn't necessarily have a map sensor fitted, and therefore if we change from sea level to 10,000 feet, the fuel mapping would be completely off. It wouldn't factor in our barrel pressure in our elevation changes, which is a huge impact in our fuel delivery because as we move up in elevation, the density of the oxygen molecules packed into the air is less and less. Therefore, we need less and less fuel contribution to be able to have the engine run properly. Now, the power is going to be going down as we go up in elevation, but we need to match our fuel delivery for those the differences in the density of the air as it's changing. So in this traditional style Alpha N strategy, again, naturally aspirated, we would use load equals barrel pressure. Now, if we're dealing with a turbo engine that's fitted with individual throttle bodies or extremely large camshaft or single throttle body, we're going to go about things a little bit differently, and that's what we're going to talk about later in the video. But again, right now, we're going to be assuming naturally aspirated engine that's you can have a map sensor or not have a map sensor, but we want to have our load source equal to barrel pressure so that as we have elevation changes, it does account for that and it is part of the calculation. So I'll click OK here. So that's the first step. The second step here is to move into our fuel table and set up the table based on throttle position rather than basing on here MGP. Manifold gauge pressure is the comparison between our map pressure and the barrel pressure. Because we have poor map sensor readings, we're not going to be properly tracking in the table here. So again, if I'm at idle, I might be pulling a reasonable vacuum here, something like 60 or 70 MGP, but as soon as I hit the throttle, I might immediately go here to 0 in my MGP, which is essentially atmospheric pressure, and we wouldn't track that.
Thanks for checking out our teaser clip. If you want to see the rest of this video and more than 500 hours of current EFI training we have to offer, make sure you click right here. If you want to go and check out more teaser clips from this training course, click here, and you don't want to miss any of the videos we're going to be releasing on this channel, so make sure you subscribe and click here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.